What's going on, guys? In this video, as we talked yesterday about revisiting the water anomalies around planet Earth, I got to looking at the wildlife anomaly type situations that we saw around the world too, and that was from the same exact time frame. So I'm going to do the wildlife today, and then in the next live stream, whether it be tomorrow or Friday, may do it tomorrow, I'm still compiling all of the water data. There was a lot, and I was surprised. And there's still more wildlife stuff I have to share. We're just looking at a loop right now that I put together. We're going to get to the wildlife stuff in just a minute. Some of you may remember it. Some of you may not. All of this stuff you're going to see was from the same time frame. And people were sending me stuff, it seemed like on a daily basis. And now looking back, it almost had to have been. I've got a ton of content to share with you guys that I know you're going to find incredible. I still look at this moment in time in astonishment at some of the things that occurred with wildlife creatures. And I've had people ask me several times, when are you going to do more wildlife stuff? And I haven't received any recently like I did back then. But it was all the time. Squirrels walking up into people, like you saw on the thumbnail, the banner. Had some rams come down out of the mountains and look in the front window of those people's homes. 2, not only 1, but 2. This type of stuff went on all the time. For about 12 months, it seemed like. Animals were trying to tell us something. Here's a map from that time frame. We'll go ahead and get started with the map. And this is a map that I put together as we went through this unique moment in time. Seemed like some sort of a strong earth change, maybe. And each star represents a wildlife behavior, moment that, somebody shared with me. And this by no means is all of them. I mean, there were probably thousands of more very similar, if not very much alike. I got pictures from practically all 50 states. Some states, as you can see, multiple times. And these are just the ones that people noticed. Like I said, I'm sure there were many, many more. And on this map, there's 100. Like 99 or 100 just on this map alone. And some states had duplicates, like Florida, for instance, had 5. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 in California. Of course, California is a pretty good size. Texas had 7. And again, there are probably many, many more. So I'll go ahead and start the video loop that I put together. I took all of the pictures that I had in just one folder, and it's quite it's quite bizarre, to say the least. Some of the things that you're going to see here, if you haven't seen them already, and I don't think most of you have. Some of you may have seen some of them, but pretty interesting stuff, to say the least. All right, here we go, and we'll stop the video and talk about different parts of it. There's the map again. I included it in the loop, but 100 reports. All of these were sent in by various people from all across the country and around the world. There were multiple incidents with squirrels, adult squirrels, baby squirrels, just walked right up to people. This person here found a duck on top of their car and just literally sat there and posed for the picture. Didn't even flinch. This type of stuff. Look here, man walks up to a duck like they're carrying on a conversation. This went on. Here's a bird. Check this out. Bird flies into this woman's home, perches up on the back of her couch. Look at that. Here's a giant bee inside somebody's house. They said this was over an inch. Yeah, over an inch wide, or right at an inch wide. I think this photo here is from New Jersey. Deer walked right up to a couple, took a picture. Some geese perched up on top of I think this was a convenience store, restaurant, or something like that. Might have been somebody's house. And here's a guy here. These wild ducks basically just walked up to him and let him pet them. This is some sort of a porcupine that got into somebody's house. This is a hawk of some sort that was perched up on a luggage rack of that guy's vehicle. Just sat there and looked at him. And these ducks here were along a sidewalk, and they were ducks, and a lady walked right up to them. Geese, same thing. And some creatures, like here's looks like a Canadian goose right here. Guy walked right up to it and took a picture. Didn't even flinch. They were happy to do it. This guy here taking pictures of ducks. Look at these here. These are sitting in front of a store, and there's traffic drives by there. They didn't even move. This rabbit here was up next to this guy's house, or just underneath the porch, posed for a picture. Again, didn't go anywhere. This here looks like a fox, just sitting there, posing for the camera. Roadrunner hops up on that's a desk inside of a business. I think it's a car rental place. And he just stood there. Here's another squirrel. Walked right up to that man. Sitting in his lawn chair, and the squirrel walked right up his leg. Like he was look at that. Like he was a pet. Feeding wild deer. Turkey right in the middle of town. Another fox right in the middle of town. Person standing there holding the camera. All of these pics were from 2018. Every one I got in 2018. That bird there was trying to get in the front door of that house. Bird there just sat in the yard, posed for the picture. Some sort of a bird here on somebody's back porch. Looks like an owl. Again, just posed for the camera. And this all occurred at the same time as those water anomalies were occurring around the globe. Really, really close to each other. The animals, especially the wildlife, were acting, I don't know, it's hard to explain. They acted kind of spooked, like they wanted to come up next to people. You know, it was just really bizarre. Here's a swarm of bees on the backside of this person's house. Another bird just sat right in the guy's hand. That's a wild bird. Another bird here on somebody's front porch up by the door. Might be a duck. It's like these animals were trying to get inside. Deer, a whole small herd of deer in somebody's front yard. That's in town. I'm not sure where this is at, but it's looks like a stork walked right up to a guy. Look at that. Person here took a picture of a couple of ducks sitting right in the middle of town. Traffic, cars, people. It didn't faze them. A couple of, I think these were geese on top of a building at the entrance. Here's one out in the middle of a parking lot. Just sitting there. Little hummingbird sitting on the ground. I don't know if it maybe ran into a window. I've actually had that happen. Same color of bird, in fact. Picked it up and it flew away about 10 minutes later. Little squirrel here. You know, again, he's just unfazed by the presence of this person. It's just like they're not even there. Look at that. Person here in their vehicle, and a cardinal flew right up on the mirror. Redbird. Again, just sat there and posed for the camera. Little bird here, same type of scenario. Person was within a foot of the bird. Pelicans up in Iowa. Another cardinal. Another goose right in the middle of town. There's a moose looking right in the front door. Going to see a dog looking up at something that showed up in the camera picture. You see that? These creatures here were not fazed at all by people taking pictures. And then a bear went right up in the backyard and laid down in town. Look at that. Pelicans walking in the house. Tree that looked like it was alive. Thousands of worms all over the tree. Said it looked like it was moving. A couple more geese perched up on the house. Duck in front of the Olive Garden. Actually, two. I believe this is a guy in Australia trying to help this emu right in the middle of town. I mean, this type of stuff went on all over the world. Or at least it seemed like it did. Family of geese in town. Just out for a Sunday stroll. Another goose sitting in the parking lot. Right in the middle. Like he was just lost. A beaver went inside of a restaurant. Look at that. Just walked right in. Another bird trying to get inside. A lot of these creatures, and you're going to see some more coming up that were just simply trying to get inside. It's really weird. Another one. Geese, and you're going to see turkeys. Turkeys walking through town. They were completely, oblivious to cars, people. Giant swarm of bugs that were visible on radar, and I got a picture of them in the sky. Big moose walked right up to the house. Just like they're heading home. Had no clue there were people behind him and didn't care. There was a bear out in the yard. He's taking a nap. Raccoon inside of a Lowe's on the shelf. Rams looking in the front window of a house. Squirrel trying to get inside the house. Ducks on top of cars. Trucks. This is a swarm of something down in Slidell, Louisiana. Look at that. Looks like an otter inside of a... Or no, that's in a creek, went right up to a guy. And the squirrels trying to get inside. Had multiple people send videos and pictures from multiple places. Turkeys wandering through town, people's front yards, in the downtown area, out in the middle of traffic. They were just roaming around, it seemed like with no direction. Bears in town, which you hear of that from time to time, but I mean, just kind of wandering around town. Small bears, big bears. There's a moose running down the highway. I mean, it was just mind-boggling. Another squirrel trying to get inside the house. And it wasn't just one little time. I guess this was on a daily basis. I'd never seen a moose run down the highway like that. Reminded me of Bullwinkle. Look at that. Unreal. Albino deer out of Missouri. Walking through town. Another squirrel trying to get in the house. Woman sees a bird, I think it's a robin, in the middle of the road. That's a robin. Was able to stop, pick it up, make sure it wasn't hurt. And as you'll see, it doesn't appear to be. Flaps its wings. Watch. Seemed quite comfortable. Now, how many times can you say you just went up and just picked up a wild bird? And we've seen it multiple times already just in this video. Look at that. Not the least bit afraid. Sets the bird down and it seems fine. Squirrel trying to get inside again. Multiple places. This went on for several days. Normally, you know, wild squirrels like to play out in the timber and the trees, you know, near their food supply. Their food supply is not on the window of somebody's house. That's what I see when I'm looking at this. Those creatures are constantly looking for food. They're not going to find any food on a window. That tells me that something was going on here. He would have rather been inside that house than over there in the timber, looking for food, you know. Black squirrel, never seen one of those. Firebird. That was in the Grand Tetons. Not sure what that was. And real long antennas. Comes a friendly moose. All right, back to the map here real quick. The only states that I didn't get any pictures from, there's only just a handful. North Dakota, Nevada, Alabama, and I want to say Kentucky. Other than that, I got photos or video from every single state. Australia, the UK, Amsterdam or the Netherlands, Belgium, that giant bee you saw that was inside that person's house. If I'm not mistaken, that was over in Belgium. But that was around the same time that I was getting pictures, and I'm still working on that video segment of the water anomalies. There's quite a few of those that I'm still trying to find. I had them on one hard drive. They're actually on two separate hard drives. So I ran across this one today, and I've still got more of these as well. So I wanted to do these, and we'll do the water anomalies next. But here's a bear just walking through the middle of town. This person is just a few feet away from this bear. He's out in the road. And again, you know, I understand that these creatures are always looking for food, but when you see these creatures in town, in the middle of intersections, sitting in front of Target, in the middle of the road, in the middle of a parking lot, they're not going to find food there. So what are they doing? It was just really bizarre. And then it stopped as quickly as it started. I all of a sudden quit getting pictures of these strange wildlife things. Maybe one or two over the course of a year, opposed to getting, 3 or 4 a week. I mean, I was getting them all the time. That's why I started putting together the map. I didn't plan that. It just happened. I started getting so many of these from so many different people that didn't know each other. I just started saving them in a folder. And then when they, accumulated up to enough, I put the map together just to look for myself. And there's more. This is just 100. There's actually more than this from other parts of the world. Australia, the UK, Belgium, Amsterdam, I want to say Germany, quite possibly the Philippines, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I did receive reports from a variety of places from all around the world, and that's when I started the map. I didn't plan on doing this. It just happened, and then it just quit. People, still have their phones. In fact, they've got high resolution phones now, cameras on their phones. But for whatever reasons, it just stopped or slowed down. Really bizarre. Kind of like this picture here. This is a sky phenomena photo out of Texas. Photo was shared with me today by Sam Walker. Have you ever seen anything like that in your life? That is incredible. Now that's a hole punch cloud that's shaped like an aerodynamic wing in the sky. Look at that. See the angles over on the left-hand side? It looks like an aerodynamic craft. The front part of it looks like a beveled disc or an edge. That's aerodynamic. How does that happen? Pretty cool. Here's another look at it here. And I just adjusted it just a little bit in a slightly different format. And there it is. Didn't have to do anything. It didn't need anything. That's just the way I received it. Just amazing. That was above Texas. Now, how does a hole punch cloud do that? I mean, it just doesn't look natural. It looks like a flying craft. It looks like some sort of a bat wing, but one that's got angles on it. Really, really cool. This is one that all I did was switch formats. I didn't have to do anything to it. It was totally obvious what the man saw. And then here's the original. That's how I received it, just like that. Saw one of these above London one time, and you can see other features on there if you look really close. On the back side, there's features. On the front side, it's kind of got, that edge, that curved edge. It looks aerodynamic. I saw one above London one time. It was just sitting there. It was a big triangle, and it looked, transparent like this, but the outlines were very crisp and sharp, like this one here. And it was just sitting there, kind of like this one. Maybe it was there and it left. I don't know. But that was spotted above Texas, and I got the picture today, so I know it was fairly recently. It's not old at all. Incredible. I don't know if you guys remember yesterday I mentioned that NASA was wanting people to photograph the Starlink satellites with your smartphone. And if you ever see them, I've seen them twice and I wasn't even looking for them. And I did record them. I haven't done anything with them. They're a little hard to see. I mean, they were easy to see, but they didn't show up that great on my phone. But I've got a little bit of light pollution out here in this area. Not too bad, but a little. Well, here's a photograph from Lowell Observatory up in northern Arizona, and they were trying to take some images of galaxies. And I've been to Lowell. I've seen the telescopes there. And this is what the image looked like after the Starlink, or one of the Starlink satellites went in front of the telescope. So, you know, it kind of rendered the particular image, well, it lasted for like 8 minutes, you know, had to start over. So anyway, if you see them traveling north to south, it's either northwest to southeast. Sometimes they're traveling almost west to east. It just depends. And you can record them. I don't know if it says here. I'll post this down in the description box. Here's what they're looking at about light pollution, and they're considering putting up as many as 40,000 of these things. And there's not 40,000 yet, but if it's already doing this type of stuff, can you imagine what it's going to be like with 40,000 of these up in the air, or 60,000? Honestly, it's going to make it next to impossible for these big observatories in Chile and well, the one in northern Arizona. There's one in Tucson, Alabama. They're all over the place. You know, Hawaii. These things constantly flying in the field of view. So they're wanting to know if you can see them with your cell phone. Go to heavens-above.com and just simply enter your location. I'm going to do it. I just haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it. I've seen them twice. I've actually had video of them sent to me and pictures. Actually, really good video. But heavens-above.com, and you can put in what time you saw them and all that. But they're not hard to see. I've seen them both at around 5 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning. And like I said, I wasn't looking for them. I just stepped outside, and there they were. I just happened to look up, and they were cruising over from northwest to definitely southeast. First night was more north to southeast, and then second morning it was definitely northwest to southeast. And it went on for probably 7 minutes, just one after another. It seemed like it was just an endless line of lights. And we've all seen them before. They look like satellites up in the sky. A little brighter, though, than the average satellite, I would say. If it was up to me, I had to guess, I would say that a little brighter. appear to be a little bigger. But once you start, if you see the very first one, man, it lasts for 6, 7, even 8 minutes. Just depends. Article here from geologian.com. Scientists discover a volcanic heat source beneath Antarctic's most vulnerable glacier. Article here that just came out, but I think they found volcanic activity way underneath the ice before down in Antarctica. This is something that's relatively new. And we saw an ice shelf break off not far from this area here. About the size of, I don't know, what, Seattle, in that area, right below my cursor. A big sheet of ice broke off about the size of Seattle a couple weeks ago. Actually, 3 weeks ago. And the volcano is just right down the road. What do you guys think would happen if Antarctica just totally thawed out? What do you think would happen? We're going to talk about that in a video coming up. What do you think would happen to Earth if Antarctica completely thawed? And I'm not talking about climate change and things like that. I'm just talking about the Earth in general. What do you think would happen? What could happen? Do you think anything would change? Probably would. I think it would change a lot. The Earth would change a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the ancient globe over here at the website. Second one from the top underneath Yellowstone. Have you guys ever seen that or went to it? Ancient Earth globe. You click on that tab right there and it takes you to ancient Earth. What did Earth look like 20 million years ago? And what did Earth look like 50 million years ago? And right on down the line. And you can go back, if you go up to the top and click on this little box here, you can pick a point in time that you want to go back to. Don't ask me how they know this. Probably from continental drift and things like that. But supposedly this is accurate to within 100 kilometers. So I think they've done their homework, let's put it that way. But if you go back 170 million years and you go down to Antarctica, it was not frozen. See? There was no Antarctica. There was no South Pole 170 million years ago. It wasn't there. That just came on about 50 million years ago is when it started to freeze. We go back 35 million, you can see it starting to freeze down there. 20 million years ago, we got ice. But before that, there was no ice down there. And the world was a much different place. A much different place with many different creatures on Earth, by the way. But you can take a look at this. It's quite fascinating. I look at this and I think about Antarctica and what was frozen in Antarctica 50 million years ago. So we're going to talk about that in another video. But yeah, it didn't used to be there. It was much bigger if you go back in time, 300 million years. South Pole covered a big part of the southern hemisphere. Look at that. So things changed over time. 400 million years ago, no ice. 280, no ice. 35 million years, ice. So if history repeats itself and it thaws out again like it's done before, according to this, what would be the outcome. We'll take a look and see what the possibilities are. But that's a pretty neat application. Once again, it's right there. Second globe from the top. Second tab from the top, I'm sorry, underneath Yellowstone. Ancient Earth globe. Really cool. Done by globalgeology.com. ENWW.com. Did a great job with this and the animation. And again, they say it's accurate to within 100 kilometers. So, really cool. We're going to talk about Antarctica and what would happen if Antarctica completely thawed, or what could happen if Antarctica completely thawed. Don't know. I'll take a quick look at these storms. Anybody in the south? Been any tornadoes or any type of that activity today in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas? I saw earlier this morning East Texas was probably seeing at least baseball-sized hail in some areas. It's a very rural area out there. I think it was called Stonewall, Texas. There was some huge supercell thunderstorms moving through that area this morning. Probably 60,000 feet at least. When they get up that tall, the hail is off the charts. And it was up, they were up that high. Just taking a look at the storms rolling through Alabama. I've been keeping a close eye on these storms ever since the tornadoes in Tennessee. Those nighttime tornadoes are just terrible. That is a terrible scene up there. Don't like to see that. But it's all part of this energy that's coming in from, believe it or not, the Pacific, moving across Mexico, then the Gulf of Mexico, up through Texas, and the jet stream is really cranking. It's very, very low. This time of year, there's supposed to be a polar jet, and we're already, for whatever reasons, dealing with a subtropical type of jet stream. It's kind of weird. So just a big heads up if you're in that area. In fact, I'll show you exactly where the jet stream is just basically cranking through the southern part of the country. And it's just kind of rare for this time of year. So don't be surprised, if there's a tornado here or there, large hail, because the contrast between hot and cold air, especially this time of year, is pretty significant. So that creates very unstable atmospheric conditions, which equate to severe weather. So I've done a little studying on weather. So the jet stream is in a different place. The hot and cold air exchange is creating extreme weather conditions, or it can. It's bringing more rain into these areas that definitely do not need it. Jackson, Mississippi is about 12 inches over for the year already. And there's no more room for any more rain, and it's raining right now. So there's more than likely going to be flooding in these areas. The Mississippi River is filling up. We've seen it do it before. As you're going to see in a collection of photos here in the next day or two of water anomalies, you're going to see the Mississippi River bone dry near the New Madrid fault zone. completely bone dry. All you see is sandbars. And people said for the first time in their life that lived up there, they walked out in the middle of the Mississippi River and they were looking for whatever they could find. They were out there with metal detectors, hoping to find coins from, the Civil War era. They had no idea what they were going to run across because it had never happened in their lifetime. Not saying it hadn't happened before, but you're going to see some really incredible pictures of the Mississippi River that is filling up again. But at that particular time, it was 2017, the water had completely disappeared. I mean, it just vanished in that area, and it was above the New Madrid. So I was kind of, thinking to myself, is the water going into, a big underground cavern? We're pretty sure there's an ocean under the ocean. So could something have moved and the water, disappeared for a while? I don't know. But there were huge sandbars that filled the Mississippi, and barges for a while could not get through a few areas. But these storms are rolling through Mobile, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, heading east-northeast at about 25-30 mile an hour. Most of these areas are just seeing steady rain. I don't see anything right now that looks severe. But most of these places don't need any rain. Need to find that golden mean, that balance. Everything, not everything, literally, but it's out of balance right now. And this weather pattern, it's starting off hot right now, not temperature-wise, but severe weather is coming on fast, so it could be an active spring. So just always have a plan, especially if you're in these areas here. Head for the basement, interior room with no glass windows. That nighttime tornado up in Tennessee, that was just a sad event. And we got to stay strong, stay wise, and be ready for this stuff, because it's going to happen. Try and switch locations here. This is over by New Orleans. Looks pretty good. Just a little bit of ground clutter. Actually, a lot of ground clutter. Base reflectivity. That's not rain. Gonna go to East Texas. And then, let's see, that's Amarillo. No, that's not Fort Hood. Looking good. Earlier this morning, jumbo hail. Now that area you see right there, that's definitely a candidate for severe weather. But that's just offshore. But it's moving inland. I'll tell you where it's going. Right towards New Iberia, Lydia, just south of Abbeville. That's got big hail, heavy rain, and high winds. That system right there moving to the east-northeast. That purple, light purple, and even the white. That white is extremely tall. So if you're in those areas, big heads up, especially New Iberia. This is in southern Louisiana. Laurelville, St. Martinville, Lydia. Anybody in that area? This would be south, or I'm sorry, due east, southeast of Lafayette, west of New Orleans. That is a strong system right there. That's probably got a lot of large hail, or at least some. Might be a tornado wrapped in there, a rain-wrapped tornado. Never know. I mean, there's no good time for a tornado. But those ones at night, they just, they don't play fair, man. You don't have a chance. Poor people laying in their bed asleep. I mean, that's just awful. I'm so sorry to anybody from that area. I really and sincerely am. At least in the daytime, if you're awake and you have a little bit of advanced warning, you can kind of get out of the way of these things and let nature do what it's got to do. But when they hit at night, when people are asleep, wow. But, you know, you got to be prepared all the time. I mean, there's nothing you can do when you're asleep, I suppose. But I guess now, if you have any inclination that there might be severe thunderstorms in your area and you have a basement that is finished and you can sleep in it, I'd do it. Because you just don't know what this weather is going to do. I mean, there was a chance of severe weather, just like today there's a chance of severe weather, and it's happening. But people are awake and they're ready for alerts. They know what's going on. When you're asleep at night, it's just sad. And I'm very sorry to the people of Tennessee. But this storm here got plenty of warning. It's about 10 minutes away from, well, probably 5 minutes away from New Iberia. Laurelville, Lydia will probably be on the right-hand side of this storm. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to look and see if we can find any type of rotation in this storm right here, because it's got some horsepower. I can tell you that. We're going to go to the correlation coefficient, and right now it doesn't look too bad. I don't see anything that's showing. You can sometimes see debris in the air on that if there is a tornado, but no debris. Not anything like that right now. So shouldn't be a tornado, but you never know. But I'm just looking at the cloud tops here, and those things are super tall. That's 59,000 foot. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. You just don't know what these storms are capable of doing. That's a 59,000 foot storm right there. Unbelievable. Whoo, that's 10 miles high. Guarantee you there's large hail. At least golf ball size hail in that storm right there. And it's moving now directly towards, just to the north of Lydia. But Lydia will be in this storm system. May not be right in the center, but this thing could grow before it gets there. Wow, 59,000 foot. That is crazy. We're going to see how far away it is from Lydia. That's about 15 miles. So, okay, got about 20 minutes maybe. 20 minutes. That would be tops. 20 minutes before it reaches Lydia or these populated areas. Right now, it's not in a densely populated area at all. It's in a very remote, rural part of southern Louisiana, but it's moving in towards people. So if you're awake and you're just be aware of your surroundings. Just know there's a storm coming. But those nighttime tornadoes, man, they just don't play fair. I chased a tornado one time many years ago, but I knew I was safe. I knew the tornado was moving away from me, not towards me. I saw it coming at me. I was in my truck, and I took shelter, which I know you're not supposed to do, but I didn't have any choice. I had to pull underneath an overpass. And as a tornado went beside me to my right, which would have been to the north, and it was moving from west to east, my truck started swaying back and forth from the wind, and I could look over. I was underneath a railroad overpass, and me and about 4 other vehicles, to be honest, on a 2-lane road, and I saw the top of the tornado go by me, and I knew it was headed towards the northeast, and my truck was facing west. I could see debris in the top of the tornado that probably wasn't, I don't know, 10,000 feet tall at the maybe not even that high. I could see sheet metal at the top slowly moving in what looked like slow motion. And when the vortex got over a farmer's field, it went from a semi-invisible color to dark brown, the color of the field, because it was pulling up the dirt. Tornadoes pull up like a vacuum. A hurricane pushes down. Hurricanes push down, tornadoes pull up. And it was like a vacuum cleaner pulling the dirt up out of that field, up into the top of that tornado. And it looked like it was moving in slow motion, even though it was moving at about 200 miles per hour. It ended up being an EF3 tornado that stayed on the ground for 20 miles. And when it went past me, and I knew it was moving not parallel with me, but at a slight angle away from me, I was moving directly east, and the tornado was moving northeast. So I knew, okay, if this thing turns, I've got plenty of time because it was a mile away from me. I could have easily stopped and went the other direction. And it was daytime. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I followed it for maybe 5 miles. It went through a farmhouse. Took the roof or shingles off of a farmhouse. A grain silo. They were like half full. Not even half full. They were less than that because it took them apart. And it traveled for another 20 miles east, mainly in rural area, but, you know, it was daytime, people saw it coming, people knew, and they had a chance to get out of the way. Nighttime tornadoes just don't play fair. So anyway, this storm is getting closer. You can see the outer edges now in Del Cambre, New Iberia, getting close to there. Lydia, starting to get some high winds, some heavy rain. Let's see the distance now. About 11 miles now from the center of this storm, where all the hail and real heavy rain. There's heavy rain on the outer edges of this thing, but that red and pink is what's concerning. That's the very tall storms that were at one time up in the 50,000 foot range. They're still 50,000, 54. You know, they variate. They're not all exactly the same height. They're anywhere from 20 to 54,000 feet tall. And it's that lift, that vacuum that pulls that moisture up, and then it gets up into those very cold temperatures, you know. I mean, it's below zero up in those very high altitudes. So it freezes the moisture, gets heavy, comes down in the form of hail. Sometimes very, very large hail. Just depends on how high it goes. It's got a real strong updraft and it's 150 miles an hour. Well, you're going to get grapefruit-size hail. If it's only about 100 mile an hour, you're going to get softball size, 120. It's about 90 mile an hour, you get baseball size. 80 mile an hour golf ball size. But remember, tornadoes are like vacuum cleaners, hurricanes, push down. They're the opposite. They're still both windy, storms, but for some reason a tornado pushes downward. And the storm is in southern Louisiana right now, moving northeast at about 25 miles an hour. Lydia is in the storm now to be in New Iberia in less than 5 minutes. And it looks like the intense part of the storm's coming right at New Iberia. And Laurelville, Lydia's in the storm now, probably getting, at minimum, some heavy rain and moderate winds. Maybe some hail, but probably not a lot. This area right here.
Just a moment.
I wasn't talking to her. Let's do the distance. See, the storm itself is about 5-6 miles wide. The main part of the storm, maybe 8. Kind of get an idea how much ground some of these storms cover. Just themselves, not counting the movement and the path that they're taking. Lydia getting it pretty good right now. New Iberia is going to be right in the middle of all this very heavy rain. They're probably getting rainfall totals right there at an inch, maybe 2 inches per hour rates. It's not going to be there an hour, but that's how hard it's raining. At probably 2 inches per hour in some areas. I don't think there's any tornadoes, but you just pretend like there is one. Because I can't tell. I looked. It doesn't look like there is, but no guarantee. I can guarantee you it's going to get wet. It's happening already. It's just coming on shore of southern Louisiana right now. It was out in the Gulf. It was very intense out in the Gulf of Mexico. Had 59,000 foot cloud tops. So, yeah, it was very strong. Still got a lot of strength to it, but it's spreading out. It was more concentrated out over the northern Gulf, and now that concentration is spreading out, covering a much wider area. It's in Del Cambre right now. Lydia is getting a very strong thunderstorm as I do this video. New Iberia is 2 minutes away from this storm. Looks like they're going to be right in the center of the strongest part of the storm. Del Cambre, Erath, switch that RNA and you've got Earth. See that? Erath, I never heard of it. Southern Mississippi, heavy rain, high winds, possibly large hail. I know at one time there was with this storm. New Iberia, Lydia is already right in the middle of it. And it's heading north-northeast. And it looks like it's going to stay organized for a while. St. Martinville could see some action from this storm. Still got respectable cloud tops at 54. Mississippi River is going to be flooding. Probably, it's already flooding in some areas. I think there's 150 gauges along the Mississippi River that are at some degree of flood stage right now. And the rain, and it keeps coming. And what little snow there is up north, well, there's some, not a huge amount. Once that begins to melt, then the river is going to fill up even more. So expect flooding along the Mississippi this year. Okay, this storm still got very tall cloud tops, and it's almost on top of, and it's actually strengthening now. Anybody in New Iberia, southern Louisiana, big heads up. This thing is getting cranked back up again. It's gaining strength, according to these echoes. New Iberia. I mean, it's less than 3 minutes away from New Iberia. It's going to be right in the middle of this storm. 58,000. It's gaining strength. I'm telling you, it's getting stronger. I mean, it was starting to weaken a little bit. Now it's getting back up there again. Yeah, those are tall boys right there. Big old tall boys. 58,000 footers. Headed right towards New Iberia. Wow. So those are big, strong storms, and they're going to deliver the goods. Going to be a lot of heavy rain, high winds, quite possibly large hail associated with this storm. And it's growing in strength and size. So now, Laurelville, am I saying that right? South of St. Martinville. There's a lot of little small communities out here in southern Louisiana. Those are big storms. New Iberia is already on the outer edge. Moving pretty quickly, though. Lydia is already on the backside of the storm. Oh, they're strengthening, guys. This is getting stronger. I'm going to try to measure this right here. See that one right there? It's a 60,000 footer. When you see that pink on there and that purple, it's time to head to the basement. So I'm just letting you know, that's why I'm watching these. We don't want to see any more of those events we saw up in Tennessee. So if I'm awake and I'm sitting here watching this, I'm going to let you know. And if I'd have been awake during those Tennessee storms, I would have let you know if you'd have been listening. This storm's getting stronger. Let's look at the big picture and see where it's headed. It's headed right towards Baton Rouge. If it stays together, that's the direction it's headed. It's headed towards a densely populated area. So if you're in Baton Rouge or know anybody that's in Baton Rouge, it might be time to batten down the hatches. See how far away this storm is from Baton Rouge. Because we play fair. We're not going to have these things sneak up on you. 60 miles away, so if it's moving at 30 miles per hour, it'd be there in probably a little under 2 hours because it's moving pretty quick. Probably be there quicker than that. I think these storms are moving considerably quicker if it stays together. But just know that you've got something headed potentially your way. You've already had some showers, but they're light compared to what this is. This is very strong storm. New Iberia, it stayed together for the last 15, 16 miles. In fact, it's gotten stronger. New Iberia is about to enter a rinse cycle dishwasher right now. Unreal. Those are big, tall storms. There's some large hail in there, guys. 57,000. 56. Whew. This whole system's headed towards Baton Rouge. So big heads up. It seems to be recycling. It gets stronger, then it weakens and gets stronger and weakens. Like right now, it's more concentrated, and in a smaller area, it's stronger, and then it'll spread out. It's like it takes in a big breath and then lets it down. That's what tornadoes do. Tornadoes pull up. Hurricanes push down. New Iberia is right in the middle of this baby right now. It just landed. The Eagle has landed. New Iberia. It's going to stay in it for a while too. The strong part of the storm. Huh. I guarantee it's raining cats and dogs there. I guarantee it. Hopefully that's all it's doing. They can handle that. Everybody's been in a rainstorm, but we don't need any tornadoes. That's not a necessity. We don't need any large hail. But that's how the mechanics of the atmosphere work. And these are definitely capable of producing it. 50, 52, 54,000 footers. Like I said, these are they're big, tall boys. They're capable of doing whatever they want. I'll watch this one for a couple more minutes. I'm going to head over to southern Georgia. I want to take a look at something there. But this one held together. It's been on the ground. It's not on the ground, but it's held its strength for quite a while, this storm. We talked about it approaching New Iberia, and it held together. It actually got stronger. Moving very fast towards the direction of Baton Rouge. So it may not maintain this type of strength, and then again it could get stronger. You just never know. But New Iberia is right in the middle of it right now. Getting some very heavy rain at the very least. Okay, we're gonna run over to I want to go over to southern Georgia here real quick. That's what I thought. All right. I got some action over here. Okay, this is well south of Atlanta. Where are we at? We're in southern Georgia. There you go. North of Tallahassee, southwest of Augusta, southeast of Columbus. We're looking at areas of Eastman, Milan, McRae, Abbeville. I've got pictures from Abbeville. Warwick. These storms here are on the warpath. There's a line of 50,000 footers rolling in. And it looks like they have got this in a severe thunderstorm warning, or under, a flash flood warning for the next 3 hours. Yeah, that ground is heavily saturated. I don't doubt it. Flash flood warning for 3 hours. Look at those things rolling through there. Here's a big, tall one right here. Look at that. Oh, my. 65,000 feet. Woo. Oh, whoa. Oh, wow. All right, man. Belleville, Hagen, Claxton. Oh, Belleville. Holy. There's a 60,000 footer headed your way, bud. If you're in Belleville, you need to take shelter. Look at that. And that's got a bow. Belleville, Hagen, Manassas. It just went over Manassas. Oh, wow. That's a big, strong storm. No joke. Belleville, that's in southeastern Georgia. That's probably what the storm looked like that went over Tennessee. I guarantee you it had these same types of echo signatures, the pinks and the purples. That's a sign of strength. Now, hopefully these don't have tornadoes. I'm going to look. Hang on. I'm looking, guys. Oh, man. What you're looking for is sharp contrast between red and green. That's what we're looking for, and I do see some. Again, it's no guarantee, but yeah, I do see some there. There's sharp contrast in that, so there could be tornadic activity in there. Wowza, that's a strong storm. Talk about a tall boy. 60,000 footers. Rolling through southeast Georgia. Belleville, Hagen, Claxton, Daisy. You guys are getting a big heads up. We don't want any more tornadoes sneaking up on people. Belleville, Hagen, Claxton, Daisy. See that bow signature? You want to see how big that is? Just that entire storm? It's covering about 13, 14 miles, the storm system itself. But that bow signature, it's bigger than that. It's about 8 miles from north to south. But the strongest part being here, that's about 5 miles wide. So if you were to take a picture of that, what you would see are those big shelf clouds that people send in. Right there's one looking at you, right there. It's probably already dark, and it's way too dangerous to go out and take a picture. But if you had a chance to take a picture of that, that's what it would look like. A big old shelf cloud right there. That's what they look like on high-res reflectivity. That's a classic shelf cloud right there. And that's got some horsepower. A lot of it. It's already gone. It's moving fast, too, by the way. Belleville's right in the middle of it. Hagen. I don't know. That storm's very strong. Looks strong to me. Anything that's 60,000 foot tall and it's associated with a fast-moving thunderstorm system, or systems, then yeah, southeast Georgia, headed towards Daisy. Oh, that's got some rotation, guys. Yeah. See that? See right here? See this getting pulled up? See how fast that went? That's moving faster than the storms behind it. That's an updraft. That's high winds. Well, hopefully that's a rural area. That's all I can say. Hopefully that's rural. Those are very strong, especially the one that just went through Belleville. There's a couple behind it that aren't quite as strong yet, but they're getting there. They're gaining momentum as they're moving from west to east. That one there being the strongest, headed towards Claxton. Do you know anybody that lives in Claxton or Hagen? There's a big updraft right there. That's got some horsepower. That's a big shelf cloud if you were to take a picture of that. You guys have all seen them on this channel. I mean, they're photogenic clouds. And it's very tall in the center. And you can totally tell. You can see the signature right there. It's got a big bow. You can see on super res reflectivity. Wow, that's a strong storm. Claxton headed towards Daisy. I guarantee it's very windy in Daisy right now. Very, very windy. It's about to get wet. Daisy, southeast Georgia. Claxton, right in the middle of it right now. Belleville, Georgia. Probably got some downed trees. Might have gotten some hail. Hopefully no tornadoes, but I'm seeing a lot of wind there. Heavy rain up towards Pulaski, Brooklet, Portal, Georgia. I never heard of it. Oliver getting some moderate rain, but this storm system's moving to that's moving due east right now, but wow, they've got this thing on the ground for a long ways. We're going to see how long, if we can. Good grief. 25 miles. All right. It's moving pretty quick. And it's maintaining that strength and height. Whoo. Strong storm. Pembroke. I've got pictures from Pembroke. Well, that one right there, it's moving around like a roundhouse right there. See that right there? That's being pulled in. See how fast that's moving? Getting some very heavy rain there. A lot of that area is under a flash flood warning. Rain rates are probably right there, 2 inches per hour. Obviously, the storms are moving much faster than that, which is good. But that's the rate it's coming down because the VIL, the vertical integrated liquid, is probably 85, 88, 90. 100%, you got a perfect vertical column of water. That's VIL, vertical integrated liquid. And that VIL is probably about 85 or 90. That gives you those super high-end, even 3-inch per hour. I've seen those before over various places. They don't come around very often, but atmosphere is easily capable of doing that. Absolutely. Well, there's a long line of 50 and 60,000 foot storms through here. Well, hopefully everybody in Claxton is tucked away in their interior rooms with no windows. Daisy, southeast Georgia, interior room with no windows. Probably be a good idea. Yeah, that's what I would do if I was there. Absolutely. Claxton, Daisy. There's a big updraft right there. Whoo! Oh my. If you're in Daisy, southeast Georgia, interior room with no windows. That's a huge bow signature. Moving pretty quick. Southeast Georgia, headed towards Pembroke. I've received pictures from right there. Whoops. Right in that area, Pembroke, Georgia. It might have been sky phenomena. I'm sure it was. Yeah, that's a big old strong storm. I'll look at these real quick. They've got the same general personality, but just not as strong as the one out in front of them. And the one back here looks like it's gaining strength a little bit. Went through Warwick. It's headed towards Araby, Ashburn, Sycamore. A place called Rebecca. That's in southern Georgia. Rochelle, Pitts, Fitzgerald. Wow, there's a ton of rain coming down through here. Holy moly, this one here is strong. This storm here, if you're in the path of this, you need to consider going to a safe spot just for a while. See what it looks like? See this big void back here behind the storm back here? See that? That tells you there's an updraft associated with this storm. There's wind. This here's a counterclockwise motion. There's an updraft there. That is a very strong system. Hopefully everybody in Daisy and Claxton took shelter. See, that little storm that went over Pembroke is strengthened right now. It's now stronger, and it just came up out of nowhere and went in front of the bigger storm. That's that strong pulling motion, that counterclockwise. It's pulling up. That's what tornadoes do. They pull up. I'm not saying that's a tornado, but I'm saying it's got an updraft. And those updrafts create hail, and they create spin. And y'all know what that spin does. It creates tornadoes. So, pretty prevalent right there. Wow. So if you're in Brooklet, Guyton, Springfield, Rincon, Oliver's seeing some very heavy rain right now. Statesboro, Ridgeland, Hardyville, yeah, that storm's got an updraft to it for sure. So that's got some horsepower. Hopefully everybody's on the ball out there. I'm sure they are. I think it's going to be an active spring. Might see a lot of tornadoes this year. Especially where that jet stream's at. It is way low. Generally this time of year we see a polar jet. And we don't have that this year. So we might see some weather extremes, that's all. If there's going to be temperature extremes, then there's definitely going to be weather extremes. It's almost kind of impossible not to have weather extremes when you have temperature extremes. And we've seen a lot of them this year. So expect weather extremes. That's all. Just be ready for it. Alright guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up right now. These storms are headed towards the coast, but if you're in southern Georgia, anywhere northeast of southeast Georgia, these storms are moving towards, looks like South Carolina. You're going to be in the rain at least for the next several hours. But along the coast of Carolina, you guys could see some severe weather later on this evening. Head right towards Charleston, Paris Island, Savannah, Richmond Hill, all the way up in through here. It's already raining there, but there's a severe component down in southern Georgia right now moving to the east-northeast. So big heads up, especially with this system right here. It's had that strong-looking bow for quite a while, ever since we came over here. So it's out in the middle of a rural area right now, but it's headed towards Guyton, Springfield, Ridgeland. and then it goes over into South Carolina. All right, guys, stay on your toes if you're in the South tonight. Storms probably at least for the next couple of hours, and then once it, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go away because it gets dark. We all saw what happened up in Tennessee. But sometimes, not always, the strong component, like we see here, when the daytime heating disappears, sometimes it takes away the strength, but not always. We saw what happened up in Tennessee. There's some movement right there that's headed towards north of Mount Vernon, Terrytown, headed towards Oak Park, Vidalia. That's probably where them onions come from, huh? Vidalia, Georgia. All right, Mount Vernon. The storms there, kind of like the storms we're seeing over here by Claxton and Daisy. Going to be in it for the next couple of hours at least. So big heads up. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a day. If you're in the South again, stay safe and